Hello and welcome to The Well. I'm your host, Dr. Brendan Arm, doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine, Chinese medicine herbalist, and founder director of Lotus Integrative Medicine in Santa Monica, California. There's a wealth of health-related information out there, and I'm joined today by this wonderful group of integrative and holistic medical doctors and practitioners to share some of our favorite wellness tips. Please let me introduce you to Bianca Rodriguez, a holistic psychotherapist, Leona West, a clinical nutritionist and herbalist, also trained and certified in functional medicine, and Dr. Rob Krochmal, a medical doctor and a practicing physician who is board certified in family medicine, nutrition, and integrative and holistic medicine. So let's begin. Today's topic is stages of change. Leona, I know you've got some thoughts on this.
Well, so part of working with our patients and clients, for me, is recognizing when they come in and they have a particular health concern, always kind of thinking about they're in some stage of change. And some people are, those people, they come in, they're like, just tell me what I need to do and I'm going to do it. They're totally motivated. And another person comes in and they're interested, but, they still have some obstacles. And I think it's important to kind of partner with each person on where they're at and how we can work together in moving from one stage of change to another. And so I was curious, from each of your perspectives, what are some of the thoughts you have or things that you do in coaching or supporting your patients and clients through stages of change?
I think that's a great way to put it, first of all, and how you framed it, because it's so important how you mentioned that we need to partner with our patients. Now I can definitely talk from a Western medicine perspective on that. And we do, as a whole, tend to want to tell our patients what to do, whether it is lifestyle changes or whether it tends to be the prescriptive kind of Western medicine guidelines. And that doesn't go over so well for most patients. And I've just learned over and over again that listening is so important. And a part of that listening is hearing the patient. Part of that is getting a sense of where they are at with the stages of change. Because two things. I mean, one thing is it's to empower someone to be the leader with you as a partner in their health, of course. In their health is healing in and of itself. And then from there, those small steps or large steps that they're taking are only going to happen if they're ready for it.
I mean, nobody likes to be told what to do. That's it. Human behavior. Nobody likes to be told what to do, period. End of story, right? I mean, having worked in the field of recovery, working with folks, with addiction, I mean, I feel like I have gotten a doctorate in resistance and stages of change. And there's actually a model that's called stages of change that you are taught kind of in therapy school that talks about pre-contemplation, being the person doesn't even know they have a problem, and then they're in contemplation and they're like, I think I might want to do something about this. And then they get into determination. I am going to do something about this, right? And a lot of the time, those are the spaces where we meet clients, right? I mean, there has to be some, maybe something happened. There was some kind of a crisis psychologically, physically. Those things are always together, but, they come in, we get them through different doors, and that can often kick somebody into being ready. But I've kind of noticed that it's like pain is the touchstone to spiritual progress, to any kind of, desire to move. So I think, I know in my work, I sit with a lot of people who, are not ready and are really contemplating. So there's a lot of psychoeducation and holding space and knowing that, change is scary and change is, the unknown, even though we're all dealing with it all the time. But, I always try to put myself in people's shoes and I'm like, you guys tell me to do something, I'm going to do the opposite.
Mm-hmm. You might be right. Even for those patients, like Leona was saying, that they tell me what to do. A lot of times when you actually do tell them what to do, it doesn't work out so well. So it's still important to be a partner and really ultimately have them feel like they're the ones that are making the decision.
My doctor told me to take a tablespoon or a teaspoon, I didn't even look it up, of olive oil in the mornings because I had a rash, and he's like, you have too much fire. I'm not doing it because it seems disgusting.
Well, you know what? And I think that's a good point too. You know, listening is key, and asking questions and being able to hold space, like you said, Bianca and Dr. Rob, for the people we're working with. And that's how we can partner. And then knowing that some people want a lot of explanation. They want to totally understand exactly why they're doing something. And that's important for them. And another person, you know, if you give them so much information, they're just like, I'm overwhelmed, just give me ABC. And I think, you know, as a practitioner, it's also important to take the time to get to know each of the people we're working with and what's the style that works for them. Again, partnering with them and making the experience about them. If they're not coming to see you and we've got some kind of prescriptive way we're going to do things. But, you know, as a practitioner, I'm fluid, I'm open, and I'm ready to kind of be the canvas for the person walking through the door or through the screen these days.
Yeah, I think of it as there's two types of healing. There's an authoritative approach to healing and a collaborative approach. And I think all four of us and many holistic and integrative practitioners, you know, choose the collaborative approach to healing. Just as you say, Bianca, if you tell people authoritatively, you must do this, it's almost like our natural instinct to say, well, what is that? What other things could I do besides that? So, I mean, I'm a Libra, you know, I'm a bit of a shapeshifter, meaning that, you know, we're the weights, the scales, according to astrology. So when someone comes in to see me, and I know for you guys just the same, it's like I'm trying to pick up on cues of where they're at, you know, where are they from? What are they going through? What's been their past experiences? So that I can try to shapeshift in a way that I can kind of communicate to something that might be received. You know, I want to hear their story, and I want to hear, you know, the history. I want to make them into an individual.
I think assessing what have you tried,
Mm-hmm.
I think is probably one of the most important questions we ask. I'm glad you brought that up, because then it'll
Yeah.
tell you what have you tried, and if they've had failures, that could really shape their experience of like, are they at the end of their rope? Or do they believe that it's possible that they can get better or that something can change? So that's a good point.
And the point about hearing their story, that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a lot of people, I'm sure all of us had this experience that they say, oh, you know, I went to go see these other different facilities and different places, and they were so cold, and, you know, the front desk was not so friendly, and the place felt so sterile. And I, you know, like that's the last thing I want, you know, well, nowadays with COVID, I still want them to feel safe and, you know, sterile, but I want it to feel warm and inviting at the same time, you know, so trying to set up an atmosphere which feels like a home, like that you feel welcome in. And when someone comes in, you know, to your home and they're your guest for the first time, you know, you usually don't tell them to sit right there and we'll be with you in a second. You know, you just say like, hello and welcome. Do you want some, would you like to use a bathroom, or how about some water or some tea? You know, try to make them feel comfortable. I feel when people are feeling comfortable, then they'll share more, and they'll be more open, and they'll be more receptive to the type of care that, you know, all of us as healthcare providers, you know, desperately try to share. So anyways.
And to your point, and as well as Bianca's point, it helps you understand some of the obstacles, but also some of the openings that are there. Because as you said, Bianca, change is scary and it's the unknown. And so it can be a little change or a big change. And, you know, what is on the other side of that, and how do I do that? And you can't really understand that unless you've listened to the bigger story and what life is. And, you know, even if it's something like eliminating gluten, and, you know, what is the alternative? What am I going to eat? What does that mean for my social life? So there's all kinds of implications that we need to understand about that.
Right. Just acknowledging that, like, you've come to see me for help, and that I may ask you to do some things that are hard or that are scary, and like, we're going to do it together, and I'm going to, be there to support you and walk you through it. And I want to hear what the challenges are. I mean, I think just bringing that into the room and acknowledging that, in my consent form, one of the things it says is, it's like, engaging in psychotherapy, like, things might get worse before they get better. You're not going to come to me and be like, I feel great. It's like, we're going to maybe dive into some stuff, and it's going to be harder, and you might feel your symptoms might increase as part of this process. So I think just acknowledging that with the client, and like everybody said here, it's about, not doing this sort of power thing where I'm here and the client's here. It's like, we're here, we're on a journey together. This is meant to be a collaborative experience. Yeah. And, I know I'm changed by my clients as much as I think, they're impacted by the work. So yeah,
100%.
being a conduit, and putting myself in their shoes, and the challenges I've had, and like joking around about the olive oil, but it's true. It's like, I've done tons of work and I'm not taking those directives. So I got to call my doctor and be like, can I do something else? I don't want to do that. And he might be like, well, why don't you try it at least once and then tell me you don't like it? And then I'll be like, okay.
Yeah, but if you don't have like the buy-in, if like you're already feeling this, that this practitioner has so much resistance, I think that's part of the training of the practitioner, or the demeanor of the practitioner, that's responsible for connecting with you as a patient, so that you're willing to get and motivated to give some, to try some changes.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, some things, maybe if there's a whole laundry list of things you're working on for health, and some things are chronic or some things are really stubborn to change, maybe highlighting some of the transformations, some of the small wins that you get along the way. It's like, oh, wow, well, at least we got your sleep, is doing a little better right now. I understand the digestion's still trouble, and I understand you're still getting migraines, and there's still dysmenorrhea or whatever it may be. But like, oh, we got the sleep together, and now it looks like your nutrition last week, was terrific. I loved some of these, meals that you thought up, and I love that you went to the market and you picked up some new things that you never tried, and it's great to hear that that you enjoy eating them. Celebrating the small wins. So it's like step by step by step, so that over time, there may be this up and down day to day or week to week, but over time,
the trend is up.
The trend
Absolutely.
is up.
I do
Absolutely.
think we got to point that out for clients, because I do often have clients that will sort of be like, there's no measurement in, especially, I mean, none of our work, but really for me, there's like, I mean, I guess it's all symptom based probably, or behavior based, but there's no measurement sometimes. So I think for us, sometimes we do have to sort of hold up that cheerleader, like, it's hard to see when you're the client and the things are happening to you, but as being able to observe, I think pointing out like, yeah, things are changing, to help people stay motivated to keep going, to keep growing.
We refer to in our family as the foamy, number one finger, that you have at a sporting event, like that you have like their name sort of stenciled on there with number one. Yeah, we tried to cheerleader is a great word for it.
Well, and there can be actually a lot of measurable change, but it is those small changes at first. And I think when, people always are their worst critic, and they hold themselves to such, the highest standard, and it's got to look perfect. And so they often don't recognize when they are in change, right? When they are in a state of transformation, and all these small improvements have developed. They don't tend to recognize it until they're at the peak. But pointing and cheerleading them, but also just pointing out, what is working, what has transpired, what they're doing. That definitely creates that connection and that motivation to keep going, instead of just like waiting for them to acknowledge where they're at when they've kind of reached this peak of, whatever they were, coming in for or focusing on in terms of their health or well-being.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's hard to even believe that it will work in the first place. And sometimes you don't want to believe that it will work because you don't want to make those changes. But to your point, acknowledging those changes. And then I love it when I see a client who has just deep down felt the change and did not realize how good they could feel. And there's nothing like that, because that's, it's infused through their whole being. And then by then, oftentimes, going back to the gluten example, they may have, had this whole other transformation where, yes, you've lost gluten, but you've gone to the farmer's market. You met a farmer who's creating a great gluten-free bread, and like there's all these new things that are happening in your life because of that change.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I think that's why, when someone comes in for physical concerns, it's been and I've only understood this through experience, through clinical experience, is that if someone's looking to make a physical change, it's almost never limited to that. They're ready for a whole person change, meaning there's other things in their life that are in change or that they want to be in change. And making physical changes is so tangible that it becomes a really good catalyst for these more intangible or abstract changes in a person's life. And I think in conventional medicine, like missing that opportunity, when someone comes in for the physical, it's almost never just the physical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amen.
I also wanted to point out, when you're going through transformation or when you're going through healing process, if you're working with someone that you don't feel comfortable with, it's okay to go find someone else, because I think that support network, that sense of community, is essential for change. From at least a Buddhist perspective, which I'm interested in that philosophy, when you're trying to get to a higher state of spirituality or meditation practice, they talk about sometimes Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and Sangha is just supposed to be a sense of community. So even on the health journey, it's very important to have a sense of community. So connection with other people, which is in most cases is your healthcare provider. Number two is you also have to have a personal desire for change, for sure. And number three is it's important to have, some sense of inspiration of some goal, or maybe someone that you admire that, is those things that you're trying to get to. But, coming back, that good relationship with a practitioner that you're comfortable with. And it's okay that if you don't feel comfortable with a person, you might, next week, turn the corner and find someone new that works better for you. But that's important, to find someone that you feel that you can trust and that you're motivated by, and you feel that it can support you. I think that's really, really very important for stages of transformation, for healing.
100%.
And in different stages. You might work with someone, I've even worked with someone, and we've addressed certain things, and now I'm saying, what, I think for this final thing, I would like to refer you to this practitioner. So also when people are moving through different stages of change, they need a different practitioner or practitioners, either collectively all at once, or maybe in different, parts of their journey, their health journey.
Well, that's all the time we have today. If you have a topic you'd like to learn more about, let us know with a comment on social media. And also don't forget to subscribe to our The Well YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us, and please join us next time for more wellness tips. Remember, regardless of where we are, our resources in The Well are limitless.